Welcome to Bat Therapy, mental health through the lens of comics and film. Be a fly on the wall or a bat in the cave, listening in on a friendship built out of a love for talking Batman, comics, and the everyday struggle to achieve mental health and happiness.
We're your hosts, clinical psychologist Dr. Emilia Brown and educator and comic aficionado Keeden Hopkins. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and social media and find our Patreon at patreon.com/battherapy.
This podcast is about providing education and understanding and is not a replacement for mental health treatment or support. If you're needing help, go to bat-therapy.com for resources.
Scott Lang.
Yes, recruitment assessment for the Avengers Initiative. We are talking Scott Lang, current Ant-Man.
Yes.
So, for anyone who has not been listening to this season, essentially what I'm doing is, what if the Avengers was looking at recruitment and we're thinking about for the upcoming movie, right? So what might be coming up? So we're hitting on different people that we either know are going to be in the movie or might be in the movie. So for Scott Lang, if I was doing a recruitment assessment for the Avengers Initiative, what I would be looking at is, so he is optimistic and he's carefree. He's not easily offended, and unlike a lot of superpowered folks, he's not motivated by power and he's not driven by a sense of superiority. And this is kind of rare in a lot of ways because a lot of these people are exceptional, right?
Yeah.
So this maximizes his ability to fight alongside a lot of different types of superheroes.
Fit in anywhere.
Exactly. He's not going to negatively impact the team dynamics in the way that, say, like Tony Stark and Captain America butt heads, right? Because they're both wanting to take the lead. Now, keep in mind, though, his lack of attention to detail and his tendency to use humor when he's in stressful situations might actually rub some team members the wrong way. He, in terms of like power dynamics, no big deal, but for some people, he might not be their favorite necessarily. So another thing about Lang is he has, of course, some expertise in like electronics and theft. And so he has these skill sets, and of course, he's got the technology and he uses it very well in terms of the PIM particle technology. But his impulsiveness and his lighthearted nature, it tends to result in being over-reliant on his instincts rather than planning things out. So he tends to be quick to act, but he also tends to be quick to be captured. He gets captured a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So the good news is that at least this rendition of Lang doesn't seem to have a super intense knowledge of the PIM particle technology, especially in comparison to the other people that use it, like Wasp and PIM and everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he tends to be someone who is okay with being on a team without getting much tactical information. He'll just jump right in, right? Like I'm thinking Civil War. He doesn't really need much. He just needs the passion and to be like, hey, we're doing the right thing. And he will jump in. So the good news is he doesn't necessarily have too much of the knowledge of things that might be important. So if he is captured, it would be an acceptable risk in most circumstances.
Yeah.
So given all this information, the recommendation for involvement in Avengers would probably depend on the situation. So if it was an Avengers situation that would require the loss of a team member or the capture of a team member in some way, then would definitely recommend his involvement. He could be a more dispensable member of the team. And actually, too, because of his sense of loyalty, he would probably not get too upset about being put in this position repeatedly. So he could be used to be a dispensable member of the team who could get captured, kidnapped, put in harm's way without there being too much risk of anything being lost multiple times without it affecting his willingness to actually keep coming back and being an Avenger. But if you're wanting the PIM particle technology, and you're wanting some more tactical awareness and someone who is more able to do stealth or work within a tactical planning team, then you probably want to look at an alternative like Wasp in those circumstances.
So, and what's interesting though, is we see Scott
be a very methodical planner when it comes
True.
to some of his heists and sneaking in and figuring stuff out. It's like he can, if he will take a back seat if someone else is there, but I feel like he can fully jump in and do it if he has to.
And that's the thing, is
He's
if
not
he has
type A.
to.
He's not type A.
So here's the thing, is Avengers is all about a team. And when it's a team, he tends to take a lot of a backseat. I honestly, like, my respect for Ant-Man, ironically, mostly comes from what he did, Scott Lang, pre-Ant-Man. He did some really cool stuff. He essentially said, hey, this corporation or whatever is doing unfair things. And he used his abilities to take from them what they took from others, which is super cool. But yeah, I agree with you. He is capable of planning. He is capable of, I mean, theft. The thefts he's doing, they're complicated, high-level things. But also, if he's, when you had to do a group project, he's the, like, super smart person who doesn't do the work unless they have to. So that's my
definitely see that.
recruitment assessment for him. I think he's the perfect patsy. Because, like, think about it. So I watched all 3 of his movies within a week, and I was like, man, this guy's really good at getting busted. And he's always happy about it. Well, usually. He gets really upset if his daughter, if Cassie is kidnapped too. I mean, don't get me wrong here. He cares about people. But when it comes to him, he's kind of the happiest prisoner.
He
you
is.
could have.
And honestly, he might be mentally the most well-rounded Avenger out
I
of
could see that.
all of them. I mean, because the way that he handles things, the way that he doesn't have like the full-blown like meltdowns or crash outs, like he does do the thing where it's like, hey, I'm gonna make it funny. I'm gonna laugh. It's a very millennial thing. We definitely got into making jokes about when we're.
Well, he's class clown, right? He doesn't want to take life too seriously. And here's the thing. I was writing this up and I was giggling to myself because I'm like, yeah, I really do see him as like the perfect patsy. Because remember, I'm writing this up as if it's like, hey, Nick Fury, here's what we need to know about someone potentially for the Avengers. So this sounds like I'm like essentially setting him up to, you know what? If you got to throw an Avenger to the wolves, I got your man.
Yeah, who is reading these case files? Because Nick Fury isn't really around. Who?
Yeah, I mean, the last time,
Maybe Sam Wilson.
Great question. Yeah, so that is a great question. But if you're thinking about this recruitment assessment, it's okay. So the person running this team, which is someone who has to call some difficult shots, and actually, what's her name? I think is in charge of the Avengers now. Oh, what is her name?
Are you talking about the Thunderbolts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know you're. Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, her. The lady from Seinfeld. Right? Yes. Veep.
Can you tell that we really make sure to plan ahead and research everything? Whatever. Y'all know I don't know
Fontaine,
names.
something
That's
like
it.
that. Yeah,
I'm
that's
impressed.
It. There we go. Yeah.
Yep. That's who I was trying to think of. Essentially, the people behind the scenes who are creating the team and trying to say, okay, how do we use these people to get to what we want? But in terms of me as a person or even as a psychologist outside of, the Avengers Initiative, I mean, he's a class clown. He's a guy that doesn't want to take life too seriously, but at the same time, he does treasure life. He's someone who really seems to want to be able to take in and enjoy the moments that he's in, which, I really respect. And like you said, he's probably one of the, if not the Avenger who can bounce back the best and can keep going. If anything, his daughter is like complaining because he's okay. And he's not obsessive. He's not just constantly chasing the next thing to make better. And, yes, that means maybe sometimes he's not calculated as much as other people and he might not get as much done, but he's also not destroying himself in the process.
Yeah. And I mean, and he does the
he does the right thing when he needs to. That's the thing. Like he doesn't his moral compass is sound. I feel like it's very sound because I mean when he jumped in to help Captain America's team in Civil War, I think it was one of those things like given his background, he's like, yeah, not really for government overreach. I'll come help y'all. Like I don't need people telling me when to shrink and when not to. Like, no. I can see.
Civil War, though. So I would argue that a lot of his other decisions show his moral compass. Civil War to me stands out as showing his naivete
Yeah.
because he's like, I'm joining because it's Captain America, and Captain
That's probably
America
what it was. Yeah. Yeah.
is the quintessential
Yeah.
hero.
If Cap called me, I would run there as fast as I possibly can. What do you need my
Exactly.
help with, Steve Rogers? On my way. Yeah, that's probably how it happened.
And that's the thing. So I agree with you that in the background there's some of the other things totally like you're saying. And hey, not only was he in the system, but he also struggled outside of the system. He went back to a life of crime. He started going back to a life of crime because our system is set up so that
Yep.
it's
Can't even
very
work at Baskin
difficult.
Robbins.
Yeah, he couldn't even work at Baskin Robbins. It's so difficult to be able to build yourself back up if you've been through certain parts of the legal system. And so, I totally agree with you that there are things that would make sense for him with Civil War, but he also very clearly had no idea what the heck was going on and still jumped in wholeheartedly and happily and dealt with the consequences wholeheartedly and happily.
Mhm.
Can you imagine jumping in, doing this, finding out later it's more complicated, and then you're on house arrest for a ton of time with limited time with your
Yeah.
kid, and you just go, okay, I can't change it. This is what
it is.
happened. You know what? I'll just bang along on do all my video games and this, that, and the other, and make the most out of it. Like if only we could all embrace acceptance
Yeah.
the way that Scott Lang can. It's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
It is. Like, and one of my favorite things that really showed like, okay, this is Scott Lang. When at the beginning of the third movie, when you see him actually hanging out with the FBI agent in charge of watching him,
Oh yeah.
like that he ends up becoming friends with everybody he meets, even from the moment you meet him, when you're like, oh man, he's in a prison fight. And then he's like, man, you guys have some weird going away rituals. Like he's
That
friends
was
with,
so cute.
it was great. It was great. He's a great person. Like I love Scott Lang and he balances out. It's so funny because it's almost like he overcorrects a little bit versus Hank, right? Like you have Hank who gets obsessed with work, has
Overly
his
serious.
past overly serious, has his past issues. And then you have Scott and it's like, all right, if there was a sweet middle ground, we would have the quintessential hero here.
Wasp.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on how awesome Hope is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Hope, you don't see as much of the easygoingness, but it's there, especially in the later movies, because while she's obviously very serious and very focused on things, there's no way that she would connect in the way that she does with Scott Lang, especially over time, the way that she does without having that lighthearted spot. And she also Bill a clap. Yeah, so Hope, she doesn't necessarily have the easygoingness she definitely doesn't have the easygoingness that Scott Lang has, but obviously they have this really strong connection, and that just really shows she has a strong connection with her father and she has a strong connection with Scott Lang, and it really suggests that she has pieces of both of them that she connects with and ties to.
She's perfect for them.
I think
Both.
so.
She's
I really
perfect
do.
for both of Hank and Scott because she's so good as far as like having a plan and being oriented, like this is what we need. This is what we need to do. She has the scientific background there.
Yes.
She also, I mean, we can't forget, she was an executive of the company
Right,
and
yeah.
then took over the company. Like
Yep.
she is the shit. I'm gonna say it. Like
She's
she
great.
really is.
It's
Yeah.
and to be on well, I mean, first off, we love men, and that's why he's the main character and all this stuff, but if we instead of going based on misogyny and how comics are written and everything, and look at the characters, honestly, I think that the reason that Ant-Man's a part of the Avengers and it's not Wasp is she thinks things through more than he does. So I think
Mhm.
he just once again, he leapt in without really getting enough of a sense of things, and it hurt everybody, right? They were all mad at him after Civil War. But also I think, I think it is just more she strikes me as someone who similarly doesn't really care about power, doesn't care about
Mhm.
being a big name or being the person that's out obviously saving the world. I feel like she's the person who puts on the suit just when she needs to, but is also working in the lab
Yeah,
or in the business.
and you see at the beginning of Quantum Mania though, she's running the company and doing
Exactly.
a lot of good.
Exactly.
A
So she would
lot of good.
rather work on things from more than one angle. And I
Yeah.
think Scott, at least the Scott in the movies here, I don't know about the comics, but he feels more limited in what his skill set is
Yeah.
for doing good.
Yeah. And I do love that, like, even because the thing is, it's like Scott was also able to change the people around him because even his buddies that he used to break into
Yeah.
stuff with, by the next movie, they've started their own security company, which is a brilliant idea, by the way. Like, oh yeah, we're ex-cons, so we can tell you exactly what security we need. Very catch me if you can.
Or Sneakers.
Yeah.
Have you watched Sneakers?
It's been a long time.
Same. I need to
It's been a
rewatch
long
it.
time. All right, we're gonna do sneakers. It's coming. He's throwback. Let's do it. That'd be a fun season idea. Just like 80s movies. That'd be good, right? That'd be really good. Dibs on Ferris Bueller's Day Off. We're doing it because that's how you skip school.
That would be fun. I like that idea. But yeah, think personally, I would struggle to get past how jokestery he is.
Hmm.
But even so though, some people are jokesters in a way where they never get serious
Right.
and it's just constant lightheartedness or jokes or comedy or whatever. I don't think that's Scott Lang. So to be clear, yes, he's optimistic. He's pretty carefree. He definitely uses humor, and boy, does it ramp up in certain situations where you don't necessarily expect it.
Hmm.
But I think again, his relationship with Hope, she ain't going to take no nonsense. That woman wants someone reliable who she can connect to and relate to, and so clearly they have a strong connection. And then also his relationship with Cassie.
Hmm.
So he clearly has a really strong bond with his daughter. And especially in Quantumania, you see how it's not just, he's not just the fun dad.
Yeah.
It's not just that kind of connection. It's deeper than that. And so I think for me, he would be a little tough at first, but he's in a lot of ways, I think there's a really good balance to him.
Yeah.
I think on the Avengers team, it would be tricky for people because they might not be around him enough to see those deeper layers or to really get a good sense for them. And in those
Yeah.
stress situations, he's kind of a normal guy amongst gods
Yeah.
when
Well,
he's with the Avengers.
I will say one thing that he's very good at, though, is being extremely cool under pressure. Like when he first breaks into the house for the safe, he's like, "Oh, no one told me it was that kind of safe." Okay. And thinks for a second, boom, has a new plan, knows how to get into it. Same thing, gets shrunk down at the end of that first movie to the quantum verse. And it's like, oh my God, he's stuck there. What is he gonna do? And he's there for maybe 5 minutes or so. And then he's like, I'm going to swap this out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And boom, we're,
Which I'm
we're,
like,
we're
how
back.
if it was that easy, would Pim's wife really have
So the one thing that I'll say about Pym's wife is I think that those round things that Hank invented, she did not have those. Especially
It
the
was
ones
before
that
he
can
created
make
that.
stuff
Okay.
bigger
Bigger.
and smaller.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
so I'm guessing that that's what happened there. But you see so many times where it's like, oh, wow, what are they going to do now? And he will come up with something very fast. He's very good at improvising. And I think that's one of his
However,
biggest strengths.
it is. And my whole shtick is your biggest strengths tend to be your biggest weaknesses.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's good at improvising, I earlier was talking about being impulsive, but I think that's actually a better way of describing it. I like that you're describing it as he's improvisational. And I think that's a much better descriptor for it.
Mhm.
And I totally agree with you. It's, I think, why he can handle very stressful situations very well, how he can get him to think outside the box, be able to maneuver things. But it's also probably why sometimes he's bumbling around when he could have put more. He does put thought into some things, but other times it's like, oh, if he had thought that through,
Mhm.
could this have ended up differently? Or like at the end of Quantum Mania, he's like dancing around. He's like, no, we defeated the blah, blah, blah. And then it hits him.
It's like, oh,
Wait, here's
damn.
information I did not actually think about at the time. Could we have actually destroyed everything instead of saving everything? Like, did we do the very right thing or the very wrong thing? So the improvisational part of him is absolutely a strength. It also, I think, is what gets him into trouble and makes it so that someone so skilled gets busted so frequently. And then add to the fact that he's pretty even keel guy, and so these things maybe don't bother him as much as other people, and so it's like, well, I'll just ride this one out and it'll be on to the next one.
Yeah. He's also he's also pretty one thing that is cool about him too, and this is something that's very difficult. He's pretty forgiving. Like when
Yes.
Darren shows back up and turns good again in Quantum Mania, it's like, "Oh yeah, you tried to kill my daughter and I'm not gonna hold that." Same thing at the end of the second movie with Ghost and how
Mm.
she was like, I don't care who dies as long as I get there. Like that whole family kind of took her in and helped her at the end, like immediately. Like Michelle Pfeiffer's character, like she comes out of the quantum verse and immediately goes over to her and helps her.
Now that you mention it, in general, the characters outside of the main villains or whatever are very forgiving in general in Ant-Man. So yes, it's not just him, it's absolutely. So Hope's mom, she comes out of the quantum realm and it's like, how can I help? But also think about Scott's ex and her husband,
Yes. Oh
who's a
my
cop
God.
of all things,
You've
right?
read my mind. Yes.
They're also incredibly forgiving. I mean, at the beginning of the first episode, at the beginning of the first movie, and throughout a decent amount of that movie, they were essentially holding him to things and setting some pretty strong boundaries. Like, you're not going to see your daughter if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Like, bro, pay child support.
Pay your
it.
child support, you see her.
Granted, kind of hard to do that when you don't have a job, but
Yes. And he was, that wasn't on him, I feel like. But anyway, he was clearly trying very hard to
Yeah.
be able to pay child support. But anyway, aside from that, though, they're like his besties in the second movie, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, now that you mention it, absolutely, even outside of him, there's a lot of forgiveness and just generally finding ways to move forward. So there's conflict, but it's not the kind of conflict where things break up and dissipate. There's conflict and resolution where it's like his daughter is kind of fed up with him in the third movie and disappointed in him and whatever, and they move through that. Or Hope has her issues with him. They forgave him for going off to Civil War. He made them fugitives.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
He made them fugitives. Like he went to Civil War, and Hope even mentioned, you didn't even ask me to join you.
You just dipped. You just dipped, went to Germany and fought the Avengers. That's the way she said it. And it's so funny. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, he didn't even tell them. That's pretty messed up.
right? He took their tech, and he and her, they were partners. They were doing tons of stuff together. He doesn't go to her to as a team, as a partnership. And so there's yeah, you're right. There's a huge theme of forgiveness
Hmm.
and just being able to find ways to resolve
Very healthily.
conflict.
Very
Yeah, I
healthily.
agree. Healthily, yeah.
Because like the relationship between Hank and Hope as well, it was one of those things where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
so it's been 30 years. You still haven't talked to me about this. I'm still angry with you about this. I got you fired and removed from the
Yep.
board of your own company. She seriously had beef with Hank, and they worked it out, and even Hank like saw the error of his ways, like even just from working with Scott. And I feel like Scott rubbed off on Hank for the positive a little bit, the way he was a good father and never stopped trying with Cassie. And eventually Hank was just like, all right, I'm gonna tell you what happened to your mom. This is what we need to do. Like all of it.
And so here's another theme. The conflict, when it's building up or when there's a struggle, tends to be someone's not saying something that needs to be said. So Hank isn't telling his daughter anything about what happened with her mom, and the fact that he disappeared because he didn't parent her the way that she needed to be parented because he was trying to bring her mom back for her. That would have
Mhm.
been nice to know.
Right.
Come on, dude. Or, um, in Quantumania, Cassie's been holding in, not sharing about her heroism that she's trying to do and disappointment in her dad. Or the mom, whose name I'm blanking on, Hank's wife.
Mhm.
So she literally didn't tell them that there was a super evil dude in the quantum realm. And she hangs out with scientists who like to study the quantum realm. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but that's like one of the dumbest things. When I was watching Quantumania, I'm like, congratulations. All you had to do was tell them there's some really bad shit down there.
Like,
Don't mess with it.
right? Like, come on, Janet. Help us out.
I'm like, come on.
Help
So,
us out, Janet,
but
please.
it's so realistic though. A lot of times we try and avoid conflict and
Yes.
not talking about things.
Ends up making it worse.
It ends up making it worse.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously to extremes when it comes to these movies, but I really like how it shows like when the characters are just willing to say what's going on and really have a heart to heart and like
Mhm.
take the time to really be with each other and see
Mhm.
where each other's coming from, then they move through it. Now, is that what happens all the time? Of course not.
Absolutely not.
Is everyone as good at being able to sit with all of the tension and things that come up with that to get to the other side as smoothly as they did? Of course not. But it is really nice to see like just like that normal human tendency to avoid things, and then also just how sometimes if you just turn toward it, you can find your way through it.
Yeah. Okay. So looking at this then, because so we've definitely talked about Scott, but I feel like Hope on the Avengers. I feel like
Far
her
superior.
right, her folder, she's probably in before Scott,
Well,
right?
you
Like,
heard
yeah,
me, right?
yeah,
Essentially, like,
absolutely.
if you want someone who's dispensable, Scott's your guy. But if you want someone who's a more permanent member of the team, honestly, Hope's probably your guy. Now, granted, if you needed someone who could do theft, and he has a different skill set than Hope
They're a
does.
great team together.
Exactly.
They
And
are
actually, that's a great point.
phenomenal together.
So potentially what you would want is if you're wanting long-term Avengers work, maybe you want them both.
You need them both.
It would be interesting because you would have a partnership happening within the team,
Mhm.
which does happen somewhat anyway, but those are, additional dynamics to just be aware of.
Right. Like
But you're
Hawk and
right.
Dove stuff. Yeah.
They have different skill sets that fit really well together. I think she is more well-rounded, but sometimes you need someone to sneak in and take something or break in or whatever it might be. Or you need someone who's just gonna. So I think she would be a really good team member, just generally. Once again, she's not gonna be someone who needs to be in charge per se, but she also, in the same way that he might throw some people off with his humor, in some ways he might be a nice way of taking the tension out of things, and Hope doesn't have that skill set. So that's another skill set he has just in terms of team dynamics that could be useful sometimes. But yeah, I'm on board with you that Hope would definitely be an awesome Avengers team member.
Yeah. And I think that I don't know. I personally don't think that that Scott's, what's the word you use? Expendable or
I said dispensable, but expendable is a good one too.
Expendable. So I really don't like, he definitely serves his purpose on the team, especially when I'm looking at the Avengers and how problematic all of them can be. I feel like he serves as a counterweight that is very much needed with that team, because I mean, we saw with the original Avengers what ended up happening because there wasn't anything to basically balance out, not even just the seriousness, but just he's very human. He's very
He is
human.
very human.
Like, and we had Hawkeye, who is human, but he's also like military to the point that he's not human. Like, he's a secret agent with S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, same with Black Widow. Like, they're human, but they're human the way Batman is human, right? Like, it's like,
exactly.
he never misses. He's not human.
Like, showing that humanness to people.
Yeah.
I definitely hear where you're coming from. I think an important thing to keep in mind, though, is Scott's actually never been a solidified member of the Avengers. He kind of is in and out, and that's not his fault by any means. He disappeared in the van or whatever to the quantum realm and stuff. And he also connected at very difficult times. So the expendability, or the fact that he is more of a dispensable member, that's more of the calculated, I'm playing a chess game, how do I move the pieces? And so that's where I'm coming from in terms of the recruitment assessment. Now, I will say that I hear what you're saying. Okay, so is he first off, if you're needing to burgle somewhere or use his certain skill set, he might come in handy, aside from what I was talking about. Also, could he be helpful for the team dynamics? Potentially. I just don't know if he's a strong enough player to be seen as like an Avengers long-term, like, primary member of the team.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think he is one of those that he's a contractor. You bring him in.
There you go.
You bring him in whenever you need him. I mean, yeah, but especially with their skill set. The quantum, like him and Hope, like when it comes to the quantum realm and all of that stuff, like it's very much like a skill set kind of thing. But I think with time and practice, they could fit in with the Avengers just fine, because all of them, like you said, all of them have their specialties, and Scott's very boots on the ground, right? He's not the gamma expert, he's not the tech genius, he's not the super soldier. He's very much boots on. We need to break into it, and Thor, you can't just throw your hammer at it. So
point him where he
what
needs
are we
to
gonna
go.
do?
Have him do the thing that you need. And then, I think contractor is a really great way of looking at it. And I think, and there's a few of them that are like that too. Like, because I think about like Stephen Strange and some of the other characters. I'm like, we bring them in whenever it's necessary, but they're not always staying in the building. And the thing with the Avengers too is that, we keep coming back to what is the Avengers? Who's in charge of the Avengers and when, and what's the purpose of it? And is it a government organization, right? Usually it technically is. What is it being aimed at? What is the purpose?
What's their
The
identity now?
Avengers that Scott sees the Avengers as are the ones that save the world from
Mhm.
alien invasions. But it's not that simple at times. And it's such a moving and changing thing.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I definitely, it's not that Scott doesn't have a way to utilize his skills in a way where it's like, he's the guy that you don't mind getting caught. I'm not saying that like he doesn't have skill sets, but in terms of the Avengers, when you have such powerhouses all together and how Ant-Man works, like you said, he's put him boots on the ground, tell him, face him whatever direction you want him to do things
They'll get it done.
and he'll get it done. And then also sometimes he'll be like, hey, something needs to happen, and he'll just go.
Mhm.
Really, just in terms of what the Avengers has tended to do, I feel like because if you need stealth and you need to steal something, Black Widow feels more apropos for the Avengers versus Ant-Man. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's almost like his humanness makes him in some ways
A
a little bit,
liability.
a liability, and
liability,
also
yeah.
just kind of a mismatch in some ways
Absolutely.
because he's not going to be on board with some of the subterfuge stuff.
And there were times when I was like, because I rewatched everything that he was in, including Avengers Endgame, because he wasn't in Infinity War, but he showed up in Endgame. And one of the things that I noticed was I feel like there were times in that movie where he definitely served his purpose, especially for like exposition and moving the plot forward. And
Yeah.
this is how much Pym particles we have. And telling them about the quantum verse and showing up in the first place. Like, I love the way he was used. But there was one point when they're actually doing the time heist, and I could just be completely forgetting part of the movie. But the group that goes to New York in the first Avengers, when they go back in time, it's Hulk is there and he's grabbing a stone. Cap is there. He's trying to get the Tesseract. Tony is there. He's trying to get, Cap is there getting the scepter. Tony's there getting the Tesseract. And Scott's just there.
That's Captain America's ass.
Right. Scott's just there. He doesn't, I'm like, is he just.
That's what I remember of him.
Is he just sitting in that Toyota Camry just waiting for everyone to come back? Like, I was so confused. Like, what are we doing? Why is he there? Like, did they just like, we don't know where to put him, so we're not going to stick him in space with the raccoon, so he can just come with us. He seems like a New York guy.
And to be fair to him, I think in some ways I might underestimate him because he doesn't feel the need to show off. And so because he doesn't feel the need to show off, then you just see the people who are showing off, or even if they're not showing off, they just like can't help themselves, like they just can't help it. And so, I think there are a lot of people who can probably relate to that, right? So, like, especially in the United States. So, in the United States, we're all about showing off. We're all about be the first, be the best, show us what you have to
Be the
offer.
worst.
Be first, yeah.
Be the
If
worst.
you're not first or last, kind of annoying stuff. And so, like, for example, I remember going to a conference, the American Psychological Association. I went to the conference, and I went to a talk that was about how to be a more welcoming environment in graduate school for international students. Maybe it was all of university and up, I can't remember. But essentially, like, how do you welcome in international students? And it was really interesting because it was talking about that cultural piece of the United States and how competencies that we use and ways that we evaluate how good someone is at something, we are inadvertently actually using traits for how a person interacts rather than being able to gauge the knowledge, because we are asking people who might come from a different cultural perspective where you're not putting yourself out there and trying to prove that you're first. A person might actually look less competent, and that's not what's going on, and you have to be really careful. And so in some ways, I thought of that when, you were bringing up these things about like, hey, don't count him out. part of it too might be that he seems in some ways less capable, or maybe that's not the best wording, but maybe not as impressive.
Hmm.
But he's also doing some really big stuff, and like you're pointing out, he's involved in a lot of really huge plot points that suggests that there's more to him than you might be seeing. And so it might be this kind of thing where it's like you're ranking his competency in a way that might not actually be fair because he's not showing it off.
Yeah. And I think that, like, from a watcher perspective, Scott makes
Mm,
everyone watching the movie feel good because it's like, yeah, I'm not the Hulk. I'm not Captain America. I'm not like everyone's like, yeah, I could be Scott Lang. Like I could, that's my entry to the Avengers because I don't have the tech suit. I don't have all the martial art. I don't have all the cool stuff, but I could be Scott Lang. Like I could be Ant-Man.
Could not be Scott Lang. I would be much too surly.
I just mean like as far as like being just a regular human. That's what I
Sure.
mean. Like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, like I don't have the gamma radiation or the Iron Man suit or the super soldier serum. But if somebody gave me a suit that I could
There you
get
go.
big and shrink down, I could probably be
There
that
we
guy.
go. I could be that guy.
I could be that guy. Don't ask me to fix the Iron Man suit. I'm not that guy. I'm not good with the bow and arrow. I'm not a
So
trained
that's the thing
assassin.
too. So at least in these movies, and once again, I don't know the comics, but at least in these movies, he doesn't even, I mean, his daughter learns about all this stuff. And like I was noticing that in any of the scenes where people were, figuring things out about the Pym particles, he's just kind of standing around.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's letting them do that part, and then he'll just go off and to
He
his
doesn't
credit
feel
too.
bad about it either, which is really cool. He's not like
Well,
he doesn't yeah.
yes. And so the thing is I respect that he's not trying to force himself to be someone that he's not. And the people around him, they're not trying to force him to be like them, which is great too. And once again, I mean, we're seeing just how healthy a lot
Yes.
of these interactions are. And I think a part of it is that no one's trying to make anyone exactly like anyone else. And sometimes they're going to annoy each other. Or I guess if you're Scott, he doesn't seem to get annoyed, which is
Mhm.
impressive. I wish I was like that. But um, they're they're just acknowledging like that's Scott.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to try and make Scott be like me or like you and yeah, I definitely respect how he not only doesn't worry about proving that he's first, but he seems to genuinely enjoy other people being completely themselves and fulfilling their own skills and purpose and what Captain America, right? He just loves he loves to
Who
see
doesn't?
people reaching their full potential. It doesn't make him feel less than. He clearly, it doesn't make him start getting defensive or anything. Like he loves to see people do their thing.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And he's also just like he when called upon, there are times when it's like, okay, he doesn't pull back when people tell him to, but a lot of the times it's like he has faith in himself for some things. Like when he went up against Falcon in that first movie,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
he goes up against Falcon, he wins that, he breaks in, he gets the part, he gets back. Hank is just laying into him and he just takes it quietly and
Yep.
then he just
I forgot about
places
that.
the part on the table. He just took it,
Or Kang,
handled it.
he
Yeah.
takes the beating.
Yeah.
I felt like that showed some quiet resolve that you don't often see from Scott. Like that is showing a strength in him that
Yeah.
he doesn't show off. So you don't realize it's there until he's literally getting beaten into a pulp and he keeps getting up.
Yeah. I mean, even in Civil War, when he gets woken up and Falcon is there and everything, and he's like, hey man, I'm sorry about that whole thing. And Falcon's immediately like, yeah, that won't ever happen again. And he's like, no, like really, like legit. Like this isn't me like trying to passive aggressively be like, yeah, I beat your ass. Like, no, I really am sorry about
Yeah. I love seeing a non-alpha male. It's so great. So
right.
I have a question for you. What do you think his role might be in Doomsday?
In Doomsday, I thought about this. I think he might actually get approached by the Thunderbolts. Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm looking at all of these characters and I'm thinking, okay, how are they going to bring these, all of these characters into the
So
fold?
many.
Because Sam Wilson has been told to start the Avengers. We have the Thunderbolts who are listed as the new Avengers, and somewhere in there, the Fantastic Four and the Wakandans are going to be in there. Don't know where Thor and Captain America are going to show up at some point. And so all of these different characters are going to be coming back. And there's a part of me that feels like Scott will get I would see him getting approached by the Thunderbolts just simply because a lot of them have a similar background. They've all done time.
That's fair.
They've all like been kind of stuck in a situation they don't want to be in. And so I can
And
see
they're
him.
also a bunch of quirky people.
They are. Yeah. But at the same time, I could also easily see Sam Wilson. He's like, hey, I got to put the Avengers back together again. Because here's another thing I thought about. Ant-Man and Wasp and Hank, they're all in San Francisco, just like Shang-Chi. Yeah. I believe that Shang-Chi was also in San Francisco.
I think you're
And
right. I think you're
so
right.
I feel like that's an easy connection right
So
there. They're both in town together.
this is making me think, so maybe Sam Wilson's version. Sam Wilson, I mean, the easiest thing for him to think of is who's left. And so Ant-Man has been involved in Avengers stuff, so you might go for
Mhm.
Ant-Man. And that's a great point about geographically what might make sense to kind of pull things together. And Shang-Chi has more of your classic Avengers style that you might see for the Avengers versus Thunderbolts,
Mhm.
right? Where they're more the down on your luck kind of group. So yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that piece.
And
Yeah,
and I feel like him and Shang-Chi would probably I feel like him and Shang would probably get along okay. Because Shang, I mean, he's just like, I mean, I'm fine with parking cars. I don't mind. Like, I don't
that's
mind
true.
just like, I know I'm a badass, but I could also
You know
just
him and
park cars.
Aquafina would.
Be great together. Like, yeah, I want the
Besties.
three of them
I
to
want
sing
that.
karaoke together. That's what I want.
Heck yeah.
That's what I want.
Heck yeah.
They'd be great at it. Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, I
With
think
an ant.
yeah, and of course, got to be an ant there. But but it's interesting now because all of these characters in this family could potentially play a role because you have original Ant-Man and Wasp,
Mhm.
Hank and Janet. Now
Yep.
you have Scott and Hope.
True.
And now Cassie also has her own suit, which I've been saying for years now that they have been subtly alluding to the Young Avengers, and they have enough characters now that they could easily do it. And so there's a lot of different angles that
Yeah.
and ways that this could go. And there's so many interactions that I haven't even thought about how they would do it. Like, because I mean, for all I know, he ends up hanging out with Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, right? Like, it would be that would be a lot of fun. And so there's so much potential, and I'm just really, I'm really interested in seeing the tone that they also take with this movie because it's such a hard shift from what they were going to do with Kang the Conqueror because I feel like this is going to change their role in all of this dramatically because Kang was in the quantum verse. They were going to be like the first people that could tell people about him.
Mhm.
And so I'm really interested in seeing how all of this goes because there was a lot of confusion for me in Quantum Mania because when Kang was knocking out all of these different timelines and stuff, I'm like, okay, where's the TVA in all this? Like, where are they at? Like, this guy's just knocking out timelines and they're not showing up at all. And they're in the quantum verse, but the quantum verse has Bill Murray. Like, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in Quantum Mania.
For listeners, Keeden's holding back. He was much more passionately talking about his issues with this movie before we recorded.
I was very lost in Quantum
So when did you stop?
Mania.
You told me you stopped watching and you started just reading a synopsis. At what part of the movie
Yeah,
did you give up?
I did. Honestly, it was probably when they got pulled into the quantum verse, and all of a sudden, instead of it looking all crazy trippy and everything like in the first two movies, and all of a sudden it just looked like the Mushroom Kingdom from Super Mario. And there were just tons of people that were just down there. I was like,
Yeah.
what's happening right now? I thought this is like a subatomic, crazy, weird level. And you're doing that a little bit, but for the most part, it just seems like a planet in Star Wars. At that point, I was also kind of running out of time because I ended up watching all of Endgame. That's what did it. Endgame's a 3-hour movie, but I couldn't just watch the Scott Lang parts. I'm like, damn it, I gotta watch the whole thing. This shit's so good. Like, I ended up giving up there. And so I took a lot of time to watch that. And by the time I pulled around back to Quantum Mania, I was like, I'm lost here, because I enjoyed the first two Ant-Man movies
Oh yeah,
a
fantastic.
lot. And I was upset because the first time I watched through them, I didn't give them enough credit because I knew what everything was building towards. And so instead of enjoying the movie for what it was, I'm like, what's going to be the post-credit scene? Who's going to be the cameo in this? How does it relate to the full story? But watching them as their own, I really enjoyed these movies so much more. And so I really liked them, but like,
Yeah. And see,
Quantum Mania, I was just lost.
I didn't know where things were going back then. I didn't know anything about Marvel. So I was just like, oh, these are fun. Yeah. I think the movies are really fun. So Quantumania started off with that vibe and like tried to end with that vibe, but that big old chunk when they were in the Quantumverse is like, okay, this feels more like it's trying to be an Avengers movie instead of an Ant-Man movie.
It's a lot going on.
So here's something I'm wondering. I don't think they have, or I would have heard about it, but you know his book that he has written for Quantum. They totally need someone to actually write that book.
Can't remember if it was a real thing or not. I feel
Have
like
they?
I feel like I remember there was something around that, but like, yeah, if it's not a real book, it should be. Like, yeah,
Let me
because
see.
that would have
It's
been
called
such a
Look
fun.
Out for the Little Guy, Scott Lang author.
Yeah.
The in-movie memoir by Scott Lang, also known as Ant-Man, that he's written and shared with the world, is seen on screen. Is proud to bring this book to real life. I wonder who actually wrote this.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if it's a real book. Like, that's the thing. I don't think this is a book that we
I'm
can
looking
just
on
purchase.
Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
looking on
that's
Amazon.
fun.
Dear Lord, it's $27 on Kindle. That's expensive.
Must be a
So
rare one. Yeah.
it's got quotes from people from Avengers. Introduces the man behind the hero and the hero I call friend, Bruce Banner, fellow Avenger. When the other Avengers wondered who should write a book about us, I knew Scott was the guy. He's been full of surprises since the day we met, and this book is no exception. Everyone should read it, Sam Wilson.
See, they love him. They love him. Yeah, he's great.
If you always hoped Ant-Man would write a book, you're in luck. I confess I did not, but I enjoyed it all the same. Dr. Stephen Strange.
That's great. I love this. I love them basically talking about their feelings behind Scott Lang, and all of them are positive because he's a nice guy. He's just an all around nice guy. Like, nobody had any ill will or hatred towards him. It's not like the way that Doctor Strange hated Tony Stark, and it was very obvious. Rewatching Endgame, I am convinced that when Doctor Strange looked into all of those futures, he saw plenty where the Avengers won, but there was only one where Tony Stark died and they won. And so he's like, sorry, there's only one possible.
It is pretty hard to believe that there's only...
Sorry, this is the only way, Tony. I looked into every single one, and this is the only one. Sorry, bro. There were probably a couple thousand that they actually won, but there was only one where it's like everyone wins and he died. So I think, that's just my personal little MCU conspiracy theory. Stephen Strange, what did you know?
Thanks for nerding out with us. I'm clinical psychologist Dr. Emilia Brown.
And I'm educator and comic aficionado Keeden Hopkins. Check out my TV and movie reviews on YouTube at Team JBS. Check out our website at bat-therapy.com, our Bat Therapy YouTube channel, and follow us on social media. And don't forget our Patreon page at patreon.com/bat therapy. See you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.